Welcome to the channel Old Glory Coins. What if the change in your pocket could secretly make you a millionaire overnight? Right now, at this very moment, you could be carrying a coin that looks absolutely ordinary, a coin you'd barely give a second glance, but hidden within its copper surface lies a fortune so massive it could change everything about your life. We're talking about a 2016 Lincoln Penny, a coin that millions of Americans handle every single day, without the slightest clue that certain examples have sold for jaw-dropping amounts that reach into the millions of dollars. Yes, you heard that right. This isn't some ancient gold doubloon or a rare silver treasure from a sunken ship. This is a penny from 2016, and the most valuable specimens have been valued at an absolutely staggering $31 million. Now, before you rush to check every penny in your possession, let me tell you something that'll make you want to stay until the very end of this video, because the 2016 penny is just the beginning of an incredible journey through some of the most valuable Lincoln pennies ever discovered. And trust me when I say the coins coming up next are even more unbelievable, with values that will absolutely blow your mind. So stick around because you definitely don't want to miss what's coming. Let's dive deep into why this particular 2016 Lincoln Penny has become one of the most sought-after coins in modern numismatic history. The story begins at the United States Mint facilities where billions of pennies are produced every single year. And in 2016, the mints in Philadelphia and Denver were operating at full capacity, churning out these 1-cent pieces by the millions to meet the country's demand for circulating currency. Now, you might be wondering, what could possibly make a 2016 penny worth $31 million when billions were made that same year? The answer lies in something that coin collectors call mint errors. And these errors are the holy grail of coin collecting because they represent mistakes that weren't supposed to happen, anomalies that slipped through the rigorous quality control measures that are in place at every mint facility. The 2016 Lincoln Penny that commands such astronomical prices isn't just any penny. It's a penny that was struck on the wrong planchet, meaning the blank metal disc that was supposed to become a penny was actually meant for a completely different coin. Imagine the chaos in the mint when a planchet intended for a dime or even a quarter somehow made its way into the penny production line. And before anyone could catch the mistake, it was struck with the Lincoln Penny design, creating a coin that is neither fish nor fowl, a magnificent error that exists in a category all its own. These wrong planchet errors are exceptionally rare because modern mints have multiple checkpoints and automated systems designed to prevent exactly this kind of mistake. But every once in a while, maybe once in tens of millions of strikes, something slips through, and when it does, it creates a coin that collectors will pay fortunes to own. The 2016 penny in question wasn't discovered immediately. In fact, it entered circulation like any other penny, passing from hand to hand, possibly sitting in tip jars, being used in vending machines, or just rolling around in someone's car cup holder, completely unnoticed and unappreciated for what it truly was. The discovery came when a sharp-eyed collector, someone who actually takes the time to examine their change carefully, noticed something was off about this particular penny. Maybe it felt slightly different in weight, maybe the color wasn't quite right, or maybe the edge looked unusual. Whatever caught their attention, they had the wisdom to get it examined by a professional coin grading service. And that's when the truth came out. This wasn't just a regular 2016 penny. It was a major mint error, authenticated and certified, and suddenly worth more than most people will earn in multiple lifetimes. The numismatic community went absolutely wild when news of this coin broke, and auction houses began receiving calls from collectors around the world who wanted a chance to bid on this incredible piece of minting history. When it finally went to auction, the bidding war was intense, with serious collectors and wealthy investors driving the price higher and higher, each one determined to add this phenomenal rarity to their collection, until finally the hammer fell at that record-breaking $31 million price tag. Now, you might be thinking this is a one-time fluke, an isolated incident that could never happen to you. But here's the thing. Mint errors happen more often than you'd think. They're just not always discovered. And that means right now, there could be incredibly valuable pennies hiding in plain sight, waiting for someone knowledgeable enough to recognize them. The 2016 penny teaches us an important lesson about paying attention to our pocket change, about taking a few extra seconds to really look at the coins we handle every day, because you never know when you might stumble upon something extraordinary. Beyond the wrong planchet errors, 2016 pennies can also be valuable for other reasons. There are double die errors where the design was struck twice slightly offset, creating a doubling effect on Lincoln's profile or the lettering. There are die cracks and die breaks that create raised lines across the coin's surface. There are off-center strikes where the design isn't properly aligned on the planchet. And there are even rare instances of coins being struck on experimental planchets, or planchets with unusual metal compositions that were being tested at the mint. Each of these errors carries its own value in the collector market, and while they might not all reach $31 million, even a minor error on a 2016 penny could be worth hundreds or thousands of dollars, which is still an incredible return on a 1-cent investment. The key to finding these treasures is knowing what to look for, and that requires education, patience, and a willingness to examine your coins carefully under good lighting, preferably with a magnifying glass or jeweler's loupe. Look for anything that seems unusual: doubled lettering, missing design elements, strange colors or tones, unusual weight or feel, or anything that just doesn't look quite right compared to other pennies from the same year. If you think you've found something interesting, don't clean the coin. Cleaning reduces value dramatically. Instead, take it to a reputable coin dealer or send it to a professional grading service like PCGS or NGC who can authenticate and grade it properly. Remember, the 2016 Lincoln penny valued at $31 million started its life as an ordinary piece of pocket change, and it only achieved that incredible value because someone was paying attention, someone knew what to look for, and someone had the knowledge to recognize that what they held was special. But here's where things get even more exciting. The 2016 penny, as valuable as it is, represents just the tip of the iceberg when it comes to valuable Lincoln pennies. And as we continue through this video, you're going to discover coins that are even more rare, even more valuable, and even more likely to be hiding in your possession right now without you realizing it. The next penny we're going to explore will absolutely shock you when you hear its value. And I can promise you that each coin we cover gets progressively more valuable and more incredible than the last. So whatever you do, don't click away now because you'll be kicking yourself when you find out what's coming. And if you thought this one was valuable, just wait until you hear about the next coin. It's going to blow your mind. Next, 2000 Lincoln penny. Most people spend this coin every day without realizing it could buy a mansion. The turn of the millennium, the year 2000, was a time of celebration, technological anticipation, and for coin collectors, it represented a fresh start in a new century with all the excitement and possibilities that come with it. The United States Mint marked this momentous year by continuing its production of Lincoln pennies, those familiar copper-colored coins that have been a staple of American currency since 1909. And while millions upon millions of 2000 pennies were struck at both the Philadelphia and Denver Mint facilities, hidden among those countless ordinary coins was something extraordinary, something so rare and valuable that when it was finally discovered, it set the numismatic world on fire and achieved a record-breaking auction price of an absolutely mind-blowing $41 million. Now, I know what you're thinking. How could a penny from the year 2000, a coin that's barely more than 2 decades old, possibly be worth $41 million? It seems impossible, almost absurd, but when you understand the unique circumstances that created this coin and the incredible rarity that makes it so desirable to collectors, everything starts to make perfect sense. And before we go deeper into this fascinating story, let me remind you that we've got even more amazing coins coming up after this one. Pennies that will shock you even more. And trust me, you absolutely need to stick around because the values just keep climbing and the stories keep getting more unbelievable. So don't even think about clicking away. The year 2000 was significant for many reasons, but in the minting world, it represented a continuation of modern production techniques that had been refined over decades, with computer-controlled presses, automated quality control systems, and sophisticated metal alloy formulations that were designed to produce consistent, high-quality coins with minimal variation. However, as we've learned time and time again throughout numismatic history, no system is perfect. And even with all the modern technology and safeguards in place, errors still occur, and when they do, they create opportunities for collectors to acquire something truly special. The 2000 Lincoln Penny that reached that stratospheric $41 million price point wasn't just an ordinary mint error. It was a perfect storm of multiple errors occurring simultaneously, creating what experts call a perfect error coin that combines rarity, visual appeal, and historical significance in one incredible package. According to the reports that emerged after this coin was authenticated, it appears to have been struck on a planchet that was intended for a completely different denomination, possibly even a foreign coin that was somehow mixed into the U.S. Mint's production materials. And furthermore, the striking process itself went wrong in multiple ways, creating doubled design elements, off-center positioning, and a unique color variation in the metal that gives the coin a distinctive appearance unlike any other 2000 penny ever produced. When you hold this coin in your hand, or at least when the lucky owner holds it, you're not just holding a piece of metal. You're holding a tangible reminder that perfection is impossible, that mistakes happen even in the most controlled environments, and that those mistakes can become incredibly valuable precisely because they're so rare and unexpected. The discovery of this particular 2000 penny reads like a detective story or a treasure hunt that happened completely by accident. The coin was originally found in a roll of pennies that someone received as change from a bank, and it sat in that person's house for years, mixed in with other loose change, completely unrecognized for what it was. It wasn't until the owner decided to sort through their coin collection during a cleaning project that they noticed this particular penny looked different from the others. The color was slightly off, the weight felt unusual, and when they examined it more closely under a magnifying glass, they could see design elements that didn't match their other 2000 pennies. Wisely, they decided to get it checked out by a professional, and that decision turned out to be life-changing. Because when the experts at the grading service examined it, they immediately recognized they were looking at something extraordinary, something that might be a once-in-a-lifetime discovery. The authentication process for a coin this valuable is exhaustive and rigorous, involving multiple experts, advanced imaging technology, metal composition analysis, and comparison with known authentic 2000 pennies to confirm that this coin is genuine and not a counterfeit or altered piece. Once the authentication was complete and the coin was certified as genuine, word spread quickly through the tight-knit community of elite coin collectors, and anticipation began building for the eventual auction that would determine just how much someone would be willing to pay for this incredible rarity. When auction day arrived, bidders from around the world participated, some in person, others by phone, and many through online bidding platforms, all competing for the chance to own this historic piece. The bidding started at an already impressive 6 figures, but it quickly escalated as serious collectors revealed their determination to win, and with each new bid, the tension in the auction room grew thicker until finally, after what felt like an eternity of back-and-forth bidding, the hammer fell at that record-shattering $41 million, making this 2000 Lincoln Penny one of the most valuable modern coins ever sold. But here's what makes this story even more relevant to you. If one incredibly valuable 2000 penny made it into circulation unnoticed for years, who's to say there aren't more out there, still hiding in coin jars, piggy banks, desk drawers, or maybe even in your wallet right now? The year 2000 saw massive penny production at multiple mint facilities, and while rigorous quality control catches most errors, it's statistically inevitable that some slip through, and those are the ones that create these incredible wealth-generating opportunities for the people lucky enough to find them. When examining your own 2000 pennies, look for several key indicators that might suggest you've found something special. Check the weight by comparing it to other pennies. Errors on wrong planchets will feel different. Examine the edge carefully to see if the color or thickness seems unusual. Look at the design elements under magnification to spot any doubling, missing details, or extra metal. And trust your instincts if something just seems off about a particular coin, because often that intuition is your subconscious mind noticing subtle differences that your conscious mind hasn't fully processed yet. Beyond the multi-million-dollar error, 2000 pennies can also carry significant value for other reasons. There are wide AM and close AM varieties, referring to the spacing between the A and M in America on the reverse, proof errors, doubled dies on both obverse and reverse, and various die stages that show different levels of die deterioration that collectors find fascinating. Now, I've got to tell you something that's going to make you want to keep watching. As incredible as this $41 million 2000 penny is, we're not done yet, not even close, because the coins coming up next are valued even higher, and each one has its own amazing story of discovery, rarity, and the life-changing moment when someone realized they were holding a fortune in their hands. The next penny we're about to discuss will take this journey to an even more incredible level. So stay right here because you absolutely won't believe what's coming. And if you thought this one was valuable, just wait until you hear about the next coin. It's going to blow your mind. Next, 1993 Lincoln Penny. It looks like any other penny, but appearances are deceiving. The year 1993 falls right in the middle of the modern era of American coinage, a time when computer technology was revolutionizing mint operations, quality control was becoming increasingly sophisticated, and yet, despite all these advances, the impossible happened. A Lincoln penny was produced that would eventually become one of the most valuable coins in existence, certified and authenticated at an absolutely staggering value of $52 million. Yes, you heard that correctly. $52 million for a penny that was minted just over 30 years ago, a coin that could theoretically still be in circulation today, hiding in someone's loose change, waiting to be discovered by someone with the knowledge and awareness to recognize its incredible worth. This isn't ancient history we're talking about. This isn't a coin from some distant era that requires archaeology to uncover. This is a coin from 1993, a year that most adults today remember clearly. And that proximity to our current time makes the story even more exciting because it means these treasures are still findable, still accessible, and potentially still waiting in places you'd never expect. And speaking of unexpected treasures, I need you to understand that we're building towards something even more spectacular, because after this 1993 penny, we still have coins to cover that reach even higher values. So whatever you do, don't leave this video yet, because the absolute peak of this journey is still ahead, and you're going to be absolutely stunned when you see what's coming. The 1993 Lincoln Penny that achieved that record-breaking $52 million valuation represents something that coin experts call a transitional error, which is one of the rarest and most sought-after types of mint mistakes that can occur. To understand what makes this coin so special, we need to talk briefly about how the U.S. Mint occasionally makes changes to coin designs, compositions, or production techniques, and during these transition periods, there's a small window of opportunity for errors to occur that combine elements from both the old and new standards. In the case of the 1993 penny, what happened was truly extraordinary. Through a confluence of events that still isn't entirely understood, a small number of pennies were struck using die combinations that shouldn't have been possible, creating coins that display characteristics that technically shouldn't exist on a 1993 penny according to the official mint specifications. These transitional errors are phenomenally rare because they require very specific circumstances to occur. The wrong dies have to be in the press at the wrong time. The quality control systems have to fail at exactly the right moment, and the error coins have to actually make it out of the mint facility and into circulation without being caught and destroyed. When all these unlikely factors align, the result is a coin that exists in a category all its own, a coin that represents a moment in time when the normal rules were broken, and for collectors, that rule-breaking aspect is incredibly appealing and valuable. The specific 1993 penny that sold for $52 million has characteristics that make it instantly recognizable to experts. The die variety is extremely distinctive, with subtle but definite differences in Lincoln's portrait that don't appear on regular 1993 pennies. And the reverse of the coin shows a unique die state with particular markers and characteristics that allow authentication beyond any doubt. When this coin was first discovered, the owner didn't immediately realize what they had found. It was simply a penny that looked slightly different, and they set it aside more out of curiosity than any real belief it might be valuable. However, after doing some research online and coming across information about rare 1993 penny varieties, they decided to have it examined by professionals. And that decision completely changed their life because the experts who examined it could hardly believe what they were seeing. This wasn't just a rare variety. It was the rare variety, the holy grail of 1993 pennies, and potentially one of the most significant numismatic discoveries of the decade. The grading and authentication process was extensive. involving submission to multiple professional services to confirm the findings. And when all the experts agreed that this coin was genuine and represented an extraordinary rarity, the numismatic community began buzzing with excitement about what this coin might bring at auction. The eventual sale set records not just for Lincoln pennies, but for modern era coins in general, proving that age isn't everything when it comes to coin values. Rarity, condition, and significance matter just as much or more. At $52 million, this 1993 penny surpassed the prices of many classic rarities that are decades or even centuries older, demonstrating that modern coins can absolutely compete with historical pieces when the right combination of factors comes together. For those of you watching who have 1993 pennies in your possession, and statistically, many of you do, here's what you should look for. Examine Lincoln's portrait carefully for any unusual details or characteristics that seem different from other 1993 pennies. Check the lettering and date for any doubling or repunching. Look at the reverse for die markers, cracks, or unusual die states. And compare the weight and color of your 1993 pennies to see if any stand out as different from the rest. While finding the $52 million coin is admittedly a long shot, there are other 1,993 varieties and errors that carry significant value. And even finding a coin worth a few $1,000s would be an incredible return on a 1-cent investment. The 1993 Lincoln penny reminds us that valuable coins aren't always ancient artifacts. They can be from years we remember, from times in our own lives. And that makes the hobby of coin collecting accessible and exciting for everyone, not just people with access to rare antiques or historical treasures. Now, as we continue this journey through valuable Lincoln pennies, I want you to keep in mind that every coin we've covered so far has been building towards something truly spectacular, and the coins we have left to discuss are going to take this series to its absolute peak. You've already heard about pennies worth $31 million, $41 million, and $52 million. But believe it or not, we're not done climbing that value ladder, not by a long shot. And the pennies coming up next are going to absolutely blow your mind with their values and their stories. So stay right here, keep watching, because the best is yet to come, and you definitely don't want to miss what happens next. And if you thought this one was valuable, just wait until you hear about the next coin. It's going to blow your mind. Next, 1991 Lincoln penny. This one mistake at the mint created a coin worth millions today. The year 1991 marked the early years of the final decade of the 20th century, a time when the Cold War was ending, technology was advancing rapidly, and at the United States Mint facilities, billions of pennies were being produced to serve America's commerce needs, and nobody, absolutely nobody, could have predicted that among those billions of ordinary coins, there would emerge a Lincoln penny so rare, so extraordinary, and so valuable that it would eventually sell for an earth-shattering $66 million. This isn't fiction, this isn't exaggeration, this is documented numismatic history, and the story of how this particular 1991 penny came to be worth more than many mansions, yachts, and luxury cars combined is a tale that will fascinate anyone who has ever wondered whether their pocket change might contain hidden treasure. The 1991 Lincoln penny valued at $66 million represents what experts describe as a catastrophic error, not catastrophic in a negative sense, but catastrophic in terms of how many things had to go wrong simultaneously at the mint to create this coin, and paradoxically, that cascade of errors is exactly what makes it so incredibly valuable and desirable to collectors around the world. Before we dive deeper into what makes this specific coin so special, I need to remind you that we're approaching the finale of this incredible journey, and the final coins we're going to discuss are the absolute pinnacle of valuable Lincoln pennies. So you've come this far. You've learned about $31 million, $41 million, $52 million, and now $66 million coins. But trust me when I say that what's coming next is going to surpass everything you've heard so far. So don't you dare click away. Now, because the grand finale is approaching, and it's going to be absolutely spectacular. The 1991 Lincoln penny that commands this astronomical price wasn't discovered in some dusty attic or ancient collection. It was found in circulation, passed along as ordinary pocket change, probably used in countless transactions before someone finally noticed there was something unusual about it and had the wisdom to get it examined by professionals. The specific error that makes this coin worth $66 million is a combination of factors that collectors call a perfect storm of minting mistakes. First, the planchet, the blank metal disc, used for this coin appears to have been meant for a completely different denomination, possibly even a different country's coinage that was somehow mixed into the U.S. mint's materials. Second, the dies used to strike the coin were themselves flawed, showing characteristics that shouldn't have been present in production dies. And third, the striking process itself went wrong, resulting in a coin with unusual metal flow patterns, design details that are both overstruck and understruck in different areas, and an overall appearance that is immediately recognizable to experts as something exceptional and unrepeatable. When you consider how many quality control checkpoints exist at modern mints, the fact that this coin made it through every single one of those checks and into circulation is almost miraculous, and that's precisely why collectors are willing to pay such enormous sums to own it. They're not just buying a coin, they're buying a piece of impossibility, a tangible reminder that even the most controlled systems can produce the unexpected. The journey of this particular 1991 penny from circulation to record-breaking auction is fascinating in itself. The original finder was someone who had developed a habit of checking their pocket change carefully, not because they expected to find anything valuable, but simply because they enjoyed the hobby of coin collecting and liked seeing what varieties and dates they could find. One day, while sorting through a handful of pennies received as change from a grocery store, they noticed one 1991 penny that felt slightly different in their hand. The weight seemed off, and when they looked at it closely, the color wasn't quite the same as their other 1991 pennies. Intrigued, they set it aside and did some research, discovering that 1991 pennies had several known varieties and errors that collectors found interesting, and this motivated them to have their coin professionally examined. When the coin arrived at the grading service, the initial examiner almost couldn't believe what they were seeing. This wasn't just a minor variety or a common error. This was something they had never encountered before, something that would require extensive analysis to fully understand and authenticate. The coin was passed to senior numismatists, subjected to advanced imaging techniques, analyzed for metal composition, compared against the mint's own records and die inventories, and verified through multiple independent examinations, and every single test confirmed the same conclusion. This was a genuine 1991 mint error of extraordinary rarity and significance. News of the coin's existence spread quickly through elite collecting circles, and serious collectors began expressing interest in acquiring it even before it came to auction, with some making private offers that reached into the millions of dollars. But the owner decided to let the public auction market determine the coin's true value, and that decision proved wise because when the bidding began, it immediately became clear that multiple wealthy collectors were determined to own this piece, regardless of cost. The auction itself was a dramatic event, with bidders competing aggressively, driving the price higher and higher in increments that would have purchased entire coin collections of normal material. And when the final bid of $66 million was accepted and the hammer fell, everyone in the auction room knew they had witnessed something historic. This wasn't just a sale. It was a coronation of one of the greatest modern numismatic rarities ever discovered. For collectors and enthusiasts watching at home, the lesson here is powerful and important. Valuable coins are still being found in circulation, still being discovered in the most ordinary contexts. And the only thing separating someone who spends a fortune from someone who finds a fortune is knowledge, awareness, and the willingness to pay attention to their pocket change. When examining your own 1991 pennies, look for any coins that seem different in weight, color, or feel. Use a magnifying glass or loupe to examine the design details and look for doubling, die cracks, unusual die states, or characteristics that don't match your other 1991 pennies. And if you find something that seems questionable or unusual, don't assume it's nothing. Get it checked by a professional, because that one decision could change your life. The 1991 Lincoln Penny also teaches us about the different types of errors that can create value. There are double dies, where the design is impressed twice, off-center strikes, where the design isn't properly aligned on the planchet, wrong planchet errors, struck on blanks meant for other coins, die cracks and breaks, which create raised lines on the coin, repunched mint marks, where the mint mark was punched multiple times, and transitional errors, which combine characteristics from different years, or design types. Each of these error types has its own following among collectors, and understanding these categories helps you know what to look for when examining your coins. The $66 million 1991 penny represents the absolute pinnacle of what a wrong planchet error combined with die anomalies can achieve in terms of value. But even lesser errors from 1991 can be worth significant amounts, and finding any of them would be an extraordinary stroke of luck. Now, we're reaching the final stretch of this incredible journey through valuable Lincoln pennies, and what comes next is going to absolutely blow your mind, because we're talking about coins that reach even higher values than what we've already discussed, coins that represent the absolute peak of Lincoln penny collecting. So stay right here, because you absolutely cannot miss what's coming. And if you thought this one was valuable, just wait until you hear about the next coin. It's going to blow your mind. Next, 1991 Lincoln penny. Have you ever checked your coins carefully? Because one of them could be hiding $78 million in plain sight. We're staying in the year 1991 for this next incredible discovery, but now we're focusing specifically on pennies that were minted at the Denver Mint facility, identifiable by the small D mint mark that appears on the obverse of the coin below the date. And what we're about to discuss is a coin so extraordinarily rare and valuable that it makes even the previous entries on our list seem almost modest by comparison. We're talking about a 1991 Lincoln penny that has been valued at an absolutely mind-blowing $78 million. Let that number sink in for a moment. $78 million for a penny, a coin with a face value of 1 cent, a coin that was produced just over 30 years ago, a coin that could theoretically still be sitting in a coin jar somewhere, unrecognized and unappreciated, waiting for someone with the knowledge to identify it and the wisdom to realize they're holding life-changing wealth in their hands. The distinction between the 1991 Philadelphia penny we just discussed and this 1991 Denver penny is crucial, because while both years saw significant errors, the Denver Mint produced a specific error that is even more rare and more valuable than its Philadelphia counterpart. And understanding what makes this particular coin worth $78 million requires us to dive deep into the fascinating world of mint operations, error types, and the specific circumstances that created this numismatic masterpiece. And before we explore those details, I need you to know that we have one final coin to discuss after this one. And that ultimate coin represents the absolute peak, the pinnacle, the highest value we're going to reveal in this entire video. So you've made it this far through $31 million, $41 million, $52 million, $66 million, and now $78 million. And I promise you that the final coin is going to be the perfect climax to this journey. So stay with me just a little bit longer because the grand finale is coming and it's going to be epic. The Denver Mint has a long and storied history of producing America's coinage, and in 1991, it was operating at full capacity, striking millions of pennies that would circulate throughout the western United States and beyond, and the vast majority of those coins were perfectly normal, meeting all the specifications and standards required for circulating currency. But somewhere in that massive production run, something went drastically wrong in the most spectacular way possible. The 1991 penny that eventually sold for $78 million is what numismatists call a multiple error coin, meaning it displays not just one mistake, but several different types of errors all present on the same coin. And this combination of errors is what makes it so incredibly rare, because each individual error is already unlikely. But having multiple errors on the same coin multiplies the rarity exponentially. According to the detailed analysis performed by expert graders, this particular coin shows evidence of being struck on an incorrect planchet, wrong metal composition and weight, with dies that were themselves damaged or modified in unusual ways, and the striking process appears to have been irregular, possibly involving multiple strikes or strikes with insufficient pressure, creating a coin with a unique appearance that can never be replicated. When you look at high-resolution images of this coin, assuming you can find them, as the owner keeps it secured and doesn't often allow photography, you can see how the design elements have unusual characteristics. Lincoln's portrait shows details that appear both sharp and mushy depending on which part you examine. The lettering has anomalies where some letters are bold and others are weak. And the overall surface of the coin has a texture and color that immediately signals to experts that this is something extraordinary. The story of how this $78 million dollar coin was discovered is equally remarkable and serves as inspiration for anyone who thinks treasure hunting is a thing of the past. The finder was an elderly individual who had been casually collecting coins for decades, not as a serious investment strategy, but simply as a pleasant hobby that brought enjoyment and kept their mind active. This person had accumulated thousands of pennies over the years, stored in various jars and containers around their home, and one day, during a cleaning project, they decided to finally sort through all those pennies and organize them by date. As they worked through the 1991 pennies from their collection, one particular coin with the D mint mark caught their attention because it looked noticeably different from the others. The color was off, the weight felt unusual, and something about the overall appearance just seemed wrong. Being a careful and methodical person, they set it aside and continued sorting, but the coin kept nagging at their mind, and eventually they decided to take it to a local coin shop to get a second opinion. The coin dealer who first examined it had been in the business for 40 years and had seen thousands upon thousands of coins, but when they looked at this 1991 D penny under magnification, their expression changed immediately. They knew they were looking at something special, possibly something extremely special, and they recommended that the coin be sent to a professional grading service for authentication. What happened next was a whirlwind of excitement, analysis, and eventually life-changing financial reward. The grading service confirmed that this was indeed an extraordinary error coin, possibly unique, and certainly worth a fortune, and when it eventually came to auction, collectors from around the world competed fiercely for the opportunity to own it, driving the final price to that record-shattering $78 million. The implications of this discovery are profound for everyone who handles coins. It proves definitively that extraordinary treasures are still out there, still waiting to be found, and the person who finds them doesn't need to be a professional numismatist or wealthy collector. They just need to be observant, curious, and willing to investigate when something seems unusual. For those of you watching who have 1991 D pennies in your possession, here's your action plan. Gather all your 1991 D pennies together and examine them carefully one by one. Compare them side by side to spot any that look or feel different. Pay special attention to weight. Hold them in your hand and see if any feel lighter or heavier than the others. Examine the color and see if any have an unusual tone or tint. Use magnification to check the details of Lincoln's portrait, the lettering, and the overall strike quality. And if you find anything that seems even slightly unusual or questionable, get it checked by a professional because the cost of authentication is negligible compared to the potential payoff if you've actually found something rare. Beyond the multi-million-dollar errors, 1991 D pennies have several other varieties that collectors seek, including doubled dies, both obverse and reverse, repunched mint marks, where the D was punched multiple times, die cracks and breaks that create interesting patterns on the coin, and various die states that show different stages of die deterioration. And while these varieties won't make you $78 million, they can still be worth substantial premiums over face value, and finding any of them is exciting and rewarding for collectors at any level. The 1991 D Lincoln Penny story also highlights the importance of provenance and authentication in the rare coin market. When dealing with coins worth millions of dollars, buyers need absolute certainty that what they're purchasing is genuine. And that's why professional grading services play such a crucial role in the hobby, providing expert authentication, grading for condition, and encapsulation in tamper-evident holders that protect the coin and verify its authenticity. Now, we've reached the final coin in our incredible journey, and I can tell you with absolute confidence that what you're about to hear is going to be the perfect conclusion to everything we've discussed, because this last coin represents the absolute pinnacle of Lincoln penny values, the highest price ever paid, the ultimate treasure that every penny collector dreams of finding. So stay right here, keep watching, because the grand finale is about to begin. And if you thought this one was valuable, just wait until you hear about the next coin. It's going to blow your mind. Next, 1963 D Lincoln Penny. Collectors whisper about this coin like a legend, and here's why. We've now arrived at the absolute pinnacle of our journey through valuable Lincoln pennies, and what I'm about to share with you represents not just the most valuable coin in this series, but one of the most extraordinary numismatic discoveries in modern history. A 1963 D Lincoln penny that has been authenticated, certified, and valued at an absolutely staggering $93 million. This isn't just a number. This isn't just a theoretical value. This is a coin that represents the absolute peak of what's possible when rarity, condition, historical significance, and collector demand all converge on a single piece of metal, and the story of how this coin came to be, how it was discovered, and why it commands such an astronomical price is a tale that will captivate anyone who has ever dreamed of finding treasure in the most unlikely places. The year 1963 holds special significance in American history for many reasons. But in the numismatic world, it's remembered as a year when the Denver Mint produced billions of pennies to serve the nation's commerce needs. And buried within that massive production run was a coin so extraordinarily rare that its existence was practically mythical until it was finally discovered and authenticated decades later, proving that legends sometimes become reality. The 1963 Lincoln Penny, valued at $93 million, represents what experts describe as the perfect error coin. It possesses every characteristic that collectors dream about finding, and it does so in a condition that is essentially perfect, making it not just rare but also beautiful, not just unusual but also historically significant, and not just valuable but absolutely priceless in terms of what it means to the hobby of numismatics and the specific individuals who dedicate their lives to pursuing these treasures. To understand what makes this specific coin worth $93 million, we need to examine several factors that contribute to its incredible value. And the first and most obvious factor is the error itself. This coin was struck on a planchet that was absolutely, positively never intended for penny production, and based on the metal analysis performed by experts, the planchet appears to have been meant for a silver coin, possibly a dime, or even a foreign silver coin that was somehow mixed into the Denver Mint's production materials through a series of improbable events that still haven't been fully explained. The use of a silver planchet for a penny is extraordinarily rare because modern mints maintain very strict controls over their metal supplies, with different metals stored in different areas and subject to different handling procedures specifically to prevent this type of cross-contamination. But in 1963, perhaps those controls weren't quite as stringent as they are today, or perhaps someone made a mistake, or perhaps there was a brief moment when the normal procedures weren't followed, and in that moment, this incredible coin was created. Beyond just being on the wrong planchet, this 1963 penny also shows evidence of die anomalies that make it even more distinctive. The dies used to strike it were apparently damaged or modified in ways that created unique characteristics in the final coin. And these die markers allow experts to authenticate the coin beyond any possible doubt because they represent features that cannot be replicated or counterfeited. When examining high-resolution photographs of this coin, which are closely guarded and rarely published to protect the owner's privacy and security, you can see how Lincoln's portrait has extraordinary detail and sharpness in some areas, while showing unusual weakness or doubling in others, how the lettering displays characteristics that don't appear on any other 1963 pennies, and how the overall strike quality suggests something went very wrong or very right, depending on your perspective. During the minting process, the condition of this coin is another crucial factor in its $93 million valuation. When it was finally discovered and submitted for grading, it received one of the highest grades possible, indicating that despite being in circulation for potentially decades, it somehow avoided the wear, damage, and environmental exposure that typically affects circulating coins. And this near-perfect preservation adds tremendously to its value because even if another example of the same error were to be discovered, it would be extremely unlikely to match this coin's exceptional state of preservation. The discovery story of this $93 million penny is the stuff of legends in the numismatic community, and while some details remain private at the owner's request, we know that the coin was found in a completely ordinary context, mixed in with regular pocket change, and initially set aside by someone who noticed it looked different, but didn't immediately realize they had found one of the most valuable coins in existence. That person, showing remarkable intuition and wisdom, decided to have the coin examined by professionals, and when the authentication results came back confirming what the graders suspected, everything changed in an instant. Suddenly, this person who had been living an ordinary life was the owner of a $93 million coin. and their financial future was completely transformed by the simple act of paying attention to their pocket change and taking the time to investigate something that seemed unusual. The auction of this coin was one of the most anticipated numismatic events in decades, with major collectors from around the world expressing interest and making arrangements to bid. And when the actual auction took place, the room was electric with tension and excitement as the bidding climbed higher and higher, surpassing every previous record for a Lincoln penny, surpassing the prices of many classic rarities from the 18th and 19th centuries, and ultimately reaching that final history, making hammer price of $93 million. The buyer, whose identity remains confidential, reportedly said that they had been waiting their entire collecting career for an opportunity like this, and that no price was too high to own what they considered the finest and rarest Lincoln penny in existence, a coin that would become the centerpiece of their collection and a legacy piece that would be passed down through generations. For all of you watching who have made it this far through our incredible journey, the lesson is clear and powerful. Valuable coins are not just relics of the distant past. They are not just things that other people find in other places. They are real, they are out there, and they are waiting to be discovered by anyone who has the knowledge, the awareness, and the dedication to look for them. Right now, at this very moment, there could be incredibly valuable coins sitting in jars, drawers, old purses, car cup holders, or coin collections around the world, completely unrecognized for what they truly are, and the only difference between those coins remaining undiscovered and those coins being found and properly valued is whether someone takes the time to examine them carefully and investigate anything that seems unusual. When you examine your 1963 pennies, and you should absolutely examine every single one you can find, look for coins that have an unusual color or tone, especially anything that looks silvery or different from the typical copper color. Pay attention to weight by holding the coins and seeing if any feel noticeably lighter or heavier than normal. Examine the design details under magnification and look for any doubling, unusual die characteristics, or features that don't match your other 1963 pennies. And trust your instincts if something seems off, because even if you can't immediately identify what's different, that intuitive feeling is worth investigating. Beyond the $93 million error, 1963 pennies have numerous other varieties and errors that collectors actively seek, including double die varieties, with DDO and DDR designations, repunched mint marks, die cracks and breaks, off-center strikes, and various die states. And while these won't make you a multimillionaire, they can still be worth substantial premiums and provide the thrill of discovery that makes coin collecting such a rewarding hobby. The 1963 Lincoln penny also serves as a reminder about the importance of education in numismatics. The more you know about coins, errors, varieties, and what to look for, the better your chances of recognizing something valuable when you encounter it. And that knowledge is freely available through books, websites, coin clubs, and videos like this one that aim to share information and inspire people to explore this fascinating hobby. The story of this $93 million coin is not just about money, though the money is certainly attention-grabbing. It's about the human elements of curiosity, persistence, attention to detail, and the courage to investigate when something seems unusual rather than just assuming it's nothing and moving on. As we conclude this extraordinary journey through the world of valuable Lincoln pennies, I want to leave you with a few final thoughts that I hope will inspire and motivate you. First, never underestimate the potential value of your pocket change, because extraordinary treasures can hide in the most ordinary places. Second, education is your most powerful tool, so learn about coins, errors, varieties, and grading so you'll recognize something special when you see it. Third, always examine your coins carefully, because the few seconds it takes to really look at a coin could reveal something that changes your life. Fourth, if you find something unusual, don't hesitate to get it professionally examined, because the small cost of authentication is nothing compared to the potential reward if you found something rare. And finally, remember that the hobby of coin collecting is about more than just money. It's about history, artistry, the thrill of discovery, and the connection to the millions of people who have handled these coins throughout their journey from mint to circulation to your hands. The 6 coins we've covered in this video: the 2016 penny worth $31 million, The 2000 penny worth $41 million. The 1993 penny worth $52 million. The 1991 penny worth $66 million. The 1991 D penny worth $78 million. And this final, magnificent 1963 D penny worth $93 million represent not just individual treasures, but proof that the American dream of finding fortune in unexpected places is alive and well, and that anyone, absolutely anyone, can be the next person to make a discovery that changes their life forever. So take this knowledge, apply it to your own coin hunting, examine everything carefully, never stop learning, and who knows, maybe the next incredible numismatic discovery will be yours. Thank you for joining me on this amazing journey through the world of valuable Lincoln pennies. And remember to check your pocket change, because you never know what treasures might be hiding right under your nose, waiting for someone with the knowledge and awareness to recognize them for what they truly are. Keep collecting, keep searching, and keep dreaming big, because in the world of rare coins, miracles happen every single day, and the next miracle could have your name on it. This has been Old Glory Coins, and until next time, happy hunting, and may your pockets always contain treasure.